You know that feeling, right, when your mind just won't shut off? It's like a maze you can't find your way out of, where all your worries and regrets are just playing on a loop and you just feel stuck. Well, let's get into it because that feeling has a name, and more importantly, it has an escape hatch. And if you feel this way, you are so not alone. It's this sense that you're just spinning your wheels mentally, convinced that if you could just think about it a little bit harder, you'd finally crack the code. But what if all that thinking, what if the thinking itself is the real trap? So, psychologists have a name for this, and it's kind of agricultural. The term is rumination. And yes, it comes directly from the animal kingdom. Picture a cow just chilling in a field, chewing its food, swallowing, and then bringing it right back up to chew on it some more. For a cow, this is totally normal, even essential. But here's where it gets fascinating. For that cow, this process is incredibly productive. It's how it squeezes every last nutrient out of the grass. But for us humans, doing the same thing mentally is, well, it's toxic. We bring up old problems, old hurts, and we chew on them over and over. But instead of getting nutrients, we're just extracting more anxiety, more sadness, and making everything feel a whole lot worse. And why on earth do we do this to ourselves? Because it feels like we're doing something important, doesn't it? It feels productive. We tell ourselves, I'm not just worrying, I'm doing deep self-reflection. We're sure that a big breakthrough is just around the corner, but it almost never is. So, a lot of us who fall into this pattern fit a profile that psychologists call an internalizer. This is the kind of person who is naturally sensitive, thoughtful, and turns inward to figure out the world. You believe you can solve problems by working harder on yourself. And that can be a real strength, a huge drive for self-improvement. But it also has a dark side. To really get how this strength becomes a trap, we have to look at the lens we're using to see our problems. Because it's not just about the fact that we're thinking so much, it's all about how we're thinking. And this is where a huge idea comes into play from the psychologist Martin Seligman. He called it a pessimistic explanatory style. It's basically a mental habit. Whenever something bad happens, the brain just defaults to three knee-jerk explanations. One, it's personal. This is all my fault. Two, it's permanent. It's always going to be like this. And three, it's pervasive. This one thing is going to ruin everything. It's really like you're wearing a pair of dark sunglasses all the time, and you've completely forgotten they're on. You just look around and think, man, this world is a really bleak, gray place. That's the filter. It's not reality. It's a cognitive habit that blocks out the good stuff and makes the bad stuff look so much worse. Now, when you see the world through that dark filter for long enough, you can start to develop something called learned helplessness. And let's be clear, this has nothing to do with being weak. It's a learned response. Your brain, after seeing that nothing you do seems to make a difference, comes to the perfectly logical conclusion that trying is pointless. The classic, unforgettable experiment that showed this is, well, it's pretty grim. Researchers gave dogs mild shocks that they couldn't get away from. Later on, they put those same dogs in a new cage where all they had to do was hop over a tiny little barrier to escape. But they didn't. They just laid down and accepted the shock because they had learned that their actions didn't matter. And this became a really powerful model for understanding why humans can get so paralyzed by depression. And that leads us right into the second part of this trap, this incredibly frustrating inner conflict where you feel everything so intensely, but you find yourself completely unable to do anything about it. This right here is the dangerous paradox at the heart of it all. On one side, you have super high emotional reactivity. Your nervous system is on red alert. You feel every ounce of stress and anxiety. But on the other side, you have incredibly low behavioral activity. So instead of fight or flight, you just freeze. Your mind is screaming, but your body is just stuck. This chart here really visualizes that. For a typical person, a moderate amount of stress puts them on alert. But for someone with a more sensitized nervous system, that's the top curve, that exact same level of stress can feel like a terrifying threat. It's like your internal alarm system is just calibrated to be way more sensitive, making the world feel like a much scarier place. And all this creates this nasty feedback loop, a whirlpool that just pulls you down. It all starts with one negative thought, like, I'm a failure. That thought sparks these awful emotions, apathy, hopelessness. Those feelings lead to paralysis. You avoid people, you avoid tasks, and then that very inaction becomes the proof your brain was looking for. See, I told you, I really am a loser. And the cycle just keeps pulling you down deeper. Okay, I know, that all sounds really bleak. We've got the endless thinking, the dark filter, the paralysis. It's a mental prison. But understanding how the prison is built is the first step to finding the key. So the big question is, how do we actually get out? The way out isn't found by thinking more. It's found by making a radical shift from all that internal brooding to external doing. Action. Action is the antidote. Escaping this trap isn't about trying to silence your thoughts or forcing yourself to just be positive. Honestly, that's a battle you're probably going to lose. The real secret is to fundamentally change the question you're asking yourself. The mind that's stuck in the trap is always asking, why do I feel this way? It's this deep inward dive that just leads to a black hole of self-criticism. The escape hatch is asking a completely different and way more powerful question. What is one small thing I can do about this? See the difference? It's not about analyzing yourself anymore. It's about engaging with the world. It's about finding a solution, no matter how tiny. Just like Seligman said, pessimism makes you freeze up. But that means the opposite must also be true. Activity, even the smallest little bit of purposeful action, is the direct counterattack against pessimism. It breaks that cycle of helplessness by giving your brain fresh, new evidence that your actions do matter. So if you take one thing away from this, let it be this. You don't escape a thought trap by thinking your way out. You have to act your way out. Doing something, anything at all, grounds you back in reality. Go for a 2-minute walk. Wash a single dish. Send that one email you've been avoiding. The size of the action is completely irrelevant. The simple act of doing, that's everything. And let's end on this, because it's so important. If you recognize yourself in that internalizer description, your ability to think deeply and analytically, that's not a flaw, it's a potential superpower. The trap only gets set when you aim that powerful engine inward, at yourself. So the solution is to turn it around. What happens when you aim all that depth, that sensitivity, that incredible mind outward? Aim it at a problem in the world, a creative project, or even just helping someone else. When you do that, you just might find that the very thing you thought was your curse is actually your greatest gift.